Here we are. What is this, episode 4?
Yes, this is episode 4. Are we on now?
Yes.
Oh. Hey, welcome everyone. This is episode 4 of Jimerz Rantz. That's Jimer with a J. Once again, I'm joined by Tommy,
Hello.
the audio guy, myself, James Francis, and
Kathleen O'Connor.
Kathleen O'Connor, yes.
Yeah.
Today is November 26, 2024, and I'm happy that we're able to get this little quick podcast in before the holidays. We were thinking that we weren't going to be able to do it, but the campus is still open today and tomorrow, and then after that, it's going to be closed for the rest of the week. But today's podcast, I like to focus upon certain types of the family holidays and the holidays and the get together of the families. I know that this can for some families be a real stressful time. This is when you hear all those horror stories about, the families getting together and, we all sit down around the table to eat some turkey and argue. So basically, but fortunately, I know that I'm a real easygoing guy, or at least I like to think I am. And so for the most part, and I don't know if that's a good thing to be like passive aggressive like that. but yeah. So whatever, like some of my family members, I'm sorry, family out there, that do to annoy me sometimes, I kind of just like try to brush it off, shake it off, and like not really let it like, get to me. But unfortunately, I know that some of us, we're still working on our coping skills. We still have this inability to kind of shake it off or brush it off, like I just said. And, these kind of things have the ability to bring up these kind of negative emotions and feelings within us. And I'm talking really fast right now, like I'm like trying to rush through all this. So I should just slow it down. But
Did you get that point?
yeah. But
all bases checked.
Coping mechanisms is one of the things that we got to be mindful of.
Oh yeah.
I know one of the cliches that they throw out there all the time is be the bigger man, be the bigger person, understand that sometimes certain people don't realize when they're rubbing you the wrong way and, getting to you like this. And Miss O'Connor here gave me 10 tips on ways to avoid drug and alcohol use during the holidays before heading to a party or celebration. Number 1 says, avoid the stressors of each holiday to the best of your ability. If that means avoiding political conversations,
Right.
if that means, asking for your space or giving certain family members their space because, you guys have that ability to bump heads. Find your own transportation or plan a ride along with a sober friend. Take a sober friend who will run interference for you. Stay away from people who want to relive past holidays. Be mindful of what you're eating as well as drinking and thinking. Plan to refuse alcohol and other drugs. Avoid the triggers such as music, clothing, people, housing, places, conversation topics. Practice self-care and keep up with healthy habits. And that's just the top 10 right there. Attend a 12-step meeting. We're going to try and host, I'm going to try and host a 12-step meeting within the coming days. So if you guys are interested, you can reach out to me on Messenger, on Facebook, and I'll let you know if that's going to be a possibility. I like that part about journaling. We go back to journaling once again. Take a nature walk, remind yourself of the goals. And then the second part says positive affirmations, and this is something that I do on a daily basis. I wake up every morning and I put myself in that positive mindset. When I go through that routine of making that first cup of instant coffee, I tell myself, today is going to be a good day. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to get out there and do whatever I need to do. So. And
you set yourself up to succeed.
Yes, definitely. So if you want to touch some more upon these kind of issues that, family members might face at turkey dinner or Christmas time or...
Well, and actually a lot of these ideas are beneficial for anybody, anytime, because what we're really talking about is being mindful within yourself, watching your emotions, watching your feelings, seeing what's going on, seeing when you're being triggered, how you're being triggered. Sometimes you're triggered by certain places, people, things. Like we said, music could be a trigger. There's a lot of things that can take you out of yourself. And if we think about it, really, all addictions begin with that desire to escape yourself.
Right.
That desire to get out of your body, to get out of your mind, to get out of your emotions. However, the way back to health is by staying present in the body, being aware of any sensations, feelings, emotions that are coming up. For instance, emotions we consider it's just energy moving through the body.
Right.
And yet we could be stuck in depression or sadness and think, oh my God, this is me forever.
Yeah.
But your sadness and your depression doesn't define you.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just emotions are transient. They're going to move through you. And if you know how to move that energy and change your emotion, change your mood, change your mind, you're able to step outside of that desire to escape.
Don't be still water. Be flowing.
Right, be
Yes.
flowing. We're
definitely.
energetic beings.
Yes.
Right here. Keep it moving.
Keep everything moving. And
Good
there's-
movements.
And there's things that can help you do that. There's things that can help you keep that energy moving and keep yourself grounded, centered, focused in the body, and being unafraid to face whatever emotions come up.
Oh man, definitely, because emotions. There's definitely triggers to start or engage any kind of internal kind of workings to where like those triggers are innate to where like we use them to protect ourselves, our inner spirit from feeling what put us in that traumatic kind of defensive mode anyway.
Right. Well, a lot of times we come from a place of trauma. If we've had trauma in our lives, especially around holidays,
Oh man,
or around family, or
all those anything that
relationships, work, it could be anything.
and then when you're around that, it automatically just weighs on you.
It reactivates the emotions associated with the trauma.
Yep. And it's kind of sad because, unfortunately, we have that ability because we're so comfortable around family to be mean to each other like that, and without taking into consideration
How much it hurts.
each other's feelings, but I think we got to get back to that. And through the ages, I can say that, as I've gotten older, I've done my best to start trying to work on my communication skills and getting that ability to kind of let other people know exactly how I'm feeling and what I'm feeling, right now. So
It's very important, and I like to tell people take a mindful minute.
Yes.
It can be a minute, or it can be more than a few minutes if you need that. But take a little time if you feel yourself getting triggered, or you feel, say, an emotion come up that you weren't expecting,
Like a volcano.
or a sudden response is, "Oh, I need a drink," or something like that.
Yeah.
It's important to take a look at that and say, "Wait, stop. First, let me put my feet on the ground. Let me feel the earth beneath my feet. Go outside if you can. Take a deep breath. Feel your energy come down into your body. Focus on it. Focus on that energy, and then say, what is this emotion and why?"
Isolate that emotion
Right.
from all the other external forces.
Right. And just ask yourself some questions and say, hey, it's okay. It's okay to feel these emotions. It's okay
real.
that you're getting triggered, but we're going to stop it from going further.
And it probably hurt everybody else
Right.
within the vicinity.
Right. It takes taking that moment, taking that mindful minute and being aware of who you are. A lot of times
Yeah.
in our past, when we've gotten hurt, we just sort of laugh it off in the group. We don't think about it. And then later on we get home and we're like, man, so-and-so said this and it really hurt. And then we're stuck dealing with our emotion later on and maybe not having any support to do that at that moment.
Also, like along with that, at the end of the day, it's like is it me that's too sensitive, or is it like or is, you start questioning how your inner gears work, and then that's where you start sliding into this kind of mojo of a
Right.
kind of despair.
And one of the, I forgot which course it was, we were talking about how every family member has certain characters that they take on. We either have that scapegoat, we have the family pleaser,
The bully.
Yeah, remind me of all the other ones and how like these play into the dynamics of how interactions go. If you,
Yeah. Well, a lot of these roles are in your family of origin, are taken on at early on.
Right.
And usually when you're a child,
Yeah.
people begin to play different roles in the family. And if there's somebody that is the bully, or somebody that is the abuser, or somebody that just is not even just cognizant of other people's emotions,
Right.
that could really set the family up to disregard emotion, disregard others in the family. If someone expresses emotion, it can cause a chain of events or a chain of
Yeah.
reactions within the family members. And so it's really important to recognize, okay, this is what I see in my own family, and this is how I'm going to work within that group. First of all, I'm going to step back. I'm
Yeah.
going to feel what I feel and be mindful and say, oh, what am I feeling right now?
Yeah.
Where am I at right now? And this is where it might come in handy to keep a little notepad and just journal. Like, oh, wow, this came up when so-and-so said this or that. And in this way, you can kind of revisit where those emotions, where they originated from, who they originated from, and where the trauma
Yeah.
started.
Finding like where that crack originates from, because it's a strange thing to I had my mind going on something to where it's more set it's more like, because when you don't write them down, all you're left with was the feeling of that hurt. But when you write it down, then at least you're able to go back and analyze and see what's going on, and finding those correlations, and then finally coming up with the reasonings why you respond and why your gears turn in a certain way.
Right, right.
and I think that's something that I've recently started doing too, as well, is taking that time to kind of like not necessarily like self-analyze myself very deeply, but to become self-aware of what my feelings are and what I'm feeling, and what caused these kind of feelings of most times, my frustrations, my angers, my fears, are they justified? Is it my fault? Is it their fault? How can I resolve these kind of issues? And it's having that ability to recognize these things and work out solutions that are viable without letting it become something greater, that I've come to understand. It really does. It works a lot. And I'm working on doing that more as time goes on, and from what I'm learning through the courses that I've taken with you, as well as some of the other courses that I've taken here at the school as well. So
Right. And maybe writing things down without judgment. It's amazing how many times people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to write. But taking and writing down that emotion or the feeling, or even the idea of where this originated from, all of a sudden it has no power. It's like
Right.
you release it from your body. You release it from your emotions. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
you need to let it out. You need to tell your story and to let it be accepted without judgment. When we have perspectives and we start saying, oh, am I justified or unjustified? Let go of that. Let go of all judgment and say, this is the emotion. I honor all my emotions, whether I was right or whether he was wrong or whatever the situation was. All your emotions are valid.
Yes.
They're all important, and it's important to honor those emotions without judgment. And sometimes you can do that by journaling or saying, hey, put your hand on your heart and say, you know what? I love you. I accept this. I accept this about myself. I release it. I want to heal this. Let's release it and let it go. And if I revisit again, so be it. Let it flow naturally.
That's how I dance to this rhythm.
Yes.
Exactly.
'Cause-
Exactly.
Journaling and doing that for yourself. Just think nobody else, no other being or soul doesn't have to be involved in that process.
Exactly. It's just you.
It's gonna be your journal. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And with that, you are there for yourself.
Yeah.
You are there to hear your own words and to actually acknowledge them instead of bottling them up. When you put them on that paper, you are making a metaphysical being of yourself to be your own therapist and to listen to yourself that way, the way that nobody else would listen to you.
I'm glad you brought that up because, as I look back for my own personal experience too, before I had these coping mechanisms and this ability to kind of recognize these issues, I think that's what a lot of my alcohol and drug abuse goes back to, is just having that inability to express myself, even in a journal.
Yes.
I used to have this ability to kind of just bottle it all up and just shove it down and not put it there. So when people would ask me like, well, why do you drink? Why do you do this? And what, I don't know. But now that I think about it, that's really what it was. It's all these kind of like negative emotions that you're just trying to keep down. That's fine, trying to find a way out. And unfortunately for me, turning to the bottle, turning to drugs was that coping mechanism for the time being to kind of like just escape from myself. But in the end, I wasn't really escaping nothing. It was just kind of like numbing myself to what wasn't going to get resolved in any kind of significant way. Yeah.
You were pretty much your own bartender, just like cleaning the glasses and being like, you're here again.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But yeah, and that's what it is. And that's why I'm always constantly just stressing that ability to kind of start learning how to communicate, communicate with yourself, through this journaling, through this kind of like becoming self-aware, but also having that ability to communicate with others and asking them, not just necessarily like, oh, you're irritating me, but, reaching out to them and saying, are you doing okay as well? How's it going? How's it been? How's it, and just those little actions, they work wonders within family and friends. I've had a lot of friends, a lot of family members who just need that ear,
that they just need to hear, are you okay?
Yeah, or just someone to sit there and listen, and felt that they're being listened to. And even I, when I've had that ability to reach out and just express myself to someone, it feels so amazing once you get that off your chest, like a load that's been lifted off you, and that's kind of one of the things that leads me to continuously pursue what I'm pursuing now, which is to become that counselor, in terms of helping people resolve these kind of internal issues that they struggle with.
This was discovered as well farther back than Freud, but basically Freud came up with talk therapy.
Yeah.
And the idea was you talk out your story, you tell your story, you say whatever's on your mind, whatever you've been thinking about, you examine your childhood, you go back as far back as you can remember, and you list your traumas and you kind of go through them as they come up. You may not even know some of them.
Yeah.
But you sort of start examining, you have this process of self-examination and realizing, wow, this is how I felt back then. And in a way, you're going back and you're looking at your problems that you had as a child with adult eyes.
I've been through that, and you start to discover like, man, it wasn't all rainbows and sunshine back then. It was hard for family, man.
Yeah, it is.
My mom and dad were struggling. There was drama. You go through that and you finally be like, oh, that's what that situation meant through adult eyes and adult situations, to where like through the lens of a kid, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah. You do your best to look away and not see it, but it's when you remember these things and you say like, wow, that's like, that was it, like, and
or you see it but you didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Right. That's why in hypnotherapy they have regression therapy. And in regression therapy you can actually go back to very specific traumas in your childhood, and the hypnotherapist can take you to a point before the trauma and then the point after the trauma, then have you visit the trauma, and you don't even have to, they can ask you to examine that trauma from up above, outside of yourself. You can look at it with your adult eyes and feel what you felt as a child and say, oh, I felt this way, but now I understand what was going on around me, whereas as a child, maybe I didn't understand. Yeah. And so you can go back, revisit that, walk through it, heal it, and say, wow, now it's integrated within me, within myself as an adult.
That's my history.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I can be healthy now because it's no longer nagging at me. It's no longer bothering me. It's not chasing me in my dreams. It's not interfering with my other relationships. And that's when you start to realize, wow, this process of self-examination and examining your childhood from as far back as you can go is very, very important and very healing.
One perspective that I love to put myself in sometimes with like looking at my past is that I would put myself in a position where I'm my parents' friend, because like I'm 29, so I can understand probably like my mom and dad's situation if like I was like one of their friends outside of the family looking on into it, and I can see the kind of situation where I can see myself as a little kid and being like, wow, it's just hang in there, man, just hang in there. The situation's just not too fun, not too good, and you're too young to understand. But mom and dad's doing the best that they can, even though like the choices that they made aren't optimal, just to put it in the most pleasant way. But it's a perspective that I can gain to where like I can go to those moments and being like, it's okay that it's not your fault that these situations that arise. Yes. You know, I can hug my younger self and being like, you're gonna get through it.
And that's actually a tool. That's actually a counseling tool and technique where you revisit yourself as your adult self.
Yes.
And you sit by them, you talk to them, you hug them.
Yes.
You tell them, I love you.
It's not your fault.
And it's not your fault. It's okay.
Yes.
And in a way, you become, it's almost like your adult self or your higher self becomes your own guardian angel when you're a child.
Exactly.
So it's a really interesting process, but it's very effective.
Yep. And that's one of the things that I've also learned to do as well, is to, like I said in the earlier podcast, was having that ability to give yourself that credit when you've, accomplished something.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like somewhere in my teenage years, I can't really pinpoint the exact ages, but I had this ability to kind of, despite like, being able to accomplish something, whether it was achieving good grades in school or accomplish some kind of meaningful goal for myself, I always had this ability to kind of like have this like thought in the back of my head, like, well, just get ready because something bad is going to happen in no time. And all these things ain't always going to be like good. So just get ready because something bad is coming, And that's kind of like the negative thought pattern that I had for a long time. It wasn't until I reached like maybe like my mid-20s that I started working on myself and being able to just say like, everything's going to be all right, and having myself believe that over and over again. And even though at that time I was still in the midst of my struggles with my addictions, I kept an optimistic mind as much as possible, that even though I messed up, I would tell myself, it's all right to get back up, try again, do your best, And even though I failed many times in the process, I never ever gave up. I never kicked myself when I was down. It was just a matter of keeping that positive mindset and trying to do what I knew I had to do to accomplish in the end what it was that I truly, truly wanted, which was sobriety. And, I finally achieved it. So I'm happy. But
yes,
the part about that is that, my best piece of advice that I can give to individuals is that to tell yourself exactly what it is you want. Like we were talking about the journals, within those journals and within yourself, you have this ability to be completely honest, and you know exactly what it is you want. Whether you're still holding any kind of resentments, whether you're holding any kind of what's that when you're not fully committed to something, you'll know,
Like
if,
on the fence.
you'll know if you're 100% ready to commit to what it is that you want to do.
Right. Okay.
They call that the whole body yes.
Yeah.
When you have the whole body yes,
Right.
then you know that that's something you want to commit to. If you're not getting that whole body yes, it's I don't know, I can't decide. Then maybe that's not the path for you.
Yeah.
Maybe that commitment isn't the one that you need to make.
And for me, it wasn't just like that. I wasn't even sure of it, I just took it, as they say, one day at a time. But as that first day came about, that first week, that first month, then I started formulating this plan. But what I did for myself was I made these workable short-term plans
Exactly.
and short-term goals. And one of the things that I taught myself was progress over perfection.
Yes.
We're going to make this progress day by day, is how I told myself this. And we're still going to make these mistakes. I let myself become aware of that. We're not going to be perfect by any means. But as long as you continue to put forth that honest effort and make that progress towards whatever it is you want, you're going to be all right. And,
Better than yesterday.
And that's basically what I told myself. And,
And what you're talking about when you're talking about talking to yourself, and this is really important, because as children, we learn how to regulate our emotions. We learn how to regulate our actions. We learn how to regulate these things because we have adults saying, calm down. You can do this.
Don't do that.
Hopefully you have, people around you that are giving
Yes.
you a positive program.
Yes.
And as
Right.
a child,
Definitely.
you might sit there trying to do a puzzle and get frustrated and throw it on the floor and get angry.
Yeah.
And somebody will come up to you and say, "Hey, it's okay. We can do this together. Let's look at these pieces of this puzzle and see if we can figure out how to fit them in." And usually a teacher or a parent says, "Hey, you can do this. I'm here. I'll help you. It's okay."
Right.
And in this way, people help young children, and the children integrate that into their body and their mind. And what happens is, as they grow up, those words that those parents or teachers said to them, they start saying to themselves, like, "Hey, it's okay. You can do this. It's all right. Let's just calm down. Let's take this step by step." And that's positive programming that you've had as a child. Now, if you have somebody that's saying bad things to you from early on, like, "Oh, get up, you're lazy, you're no good, you can't do this, you're so stupid," whatever the words might be, that's going into your programming. And that's the program your computer brain runs. And the subconscious is very good at taking those words and running that sequence of that recording.
Those chains of commands
Yeah.
inside your system.
Right. And part of what we do as adults is we will spew out this negative stuff all the time. We won't even think about it. We're just like, "Oh, my life is a catastrophe. I'm waiting for the next catastrophe," or something like that.
Nonchalantly, and especially around kids.
Right. And then we act as if we are, like we're waiting for the next disaster.
Oh boy.
We're all into that negative track, where that negative programming. And part of what I try to teach my students is how to reverse that programming. And part of it is being extremely mindful. When you catch it, when you find yourself saying something negative like that, you catch it and you say, "Erase, cancel, I take it back. I take it back. My life is wonderful. It's full of abundance and love and joy." Even if you don't feel that, you say it and you start telling your mind, anything can happen. Miracles can happen.
Yeah.
And that's crazy that you say that, because like, even as I said, when I was a teenager telling myself these things, I never caught myself doing it, or I never questioned, why are you thinking like that?
Yeah.
It was just something that popped into my head, and it's just like, it's true.
It's like in the script.
Yeah. So, but that's true, and that's one of the things that I really stress to my nieces and nephews these days. Part of the Wellbrighty program, we have this code of ethics that we begin the meetings with, and I think it's number 13. It says, "Children are the seeds of our future. Water them with wisdom and life's lessons, and when they are grown, give them space to grow." But what that also entails is that we as adults, as mature adults, whether we have kids, nieces, nephews, even family members or youngsters around the community, we have to be able to recognize that we're that mature role model, and they are listening to the words that we give them.
And looking at
the
our
advice.
actions.
Yeah. I never thought that I would be in that position of setting my nieces and nephews down and telling them all these good things about how to respect themselves, how to carry themselves, and how to, live their lives in the proper way, so that way they have these kind of happy lives without getting tossed into all this type of turmoil that comes with things that they may think are fun, like drugs and alcohol and partying and all that. There's going to be a time for that, and there's going to be, but really what you want to teach them is those positive things and be that role model for them. And that's one of the things that, we were always told growing up, was that one of these days you're going to be sitting here and they're going to be watching you and you're going to be telling them what we're telling.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, it's never going to be me. But,
Oh, man.
now the time is here, man. And
For
it's
real.
just like, so... And that's one of the things that, I've learned from my Wellbrighty program, is that we can break this cycle of negativity, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's substance abuse, whether it's the various traumas that we struggle with within our communities of domestic violence or certain kind of like things, bullying, the new thing. But as long as we make that effort to do that, to teach others, these positive things and encourage each others along the way, that we can start moving each other in a positive direction. And it makes me happy because, I see it in my nieces and my nephews, and I see it in a lot of the youngsters around my community that, they're not getting into as much trouble as I was back in the day, so, but, so it's upon us now, upon this generation to really start guiding the youngsters out there. Yeah. And I see it. And, it makes me happy that we have this ability to use technology in a positive manner to kind of reach out to people out there and share these kind of ideas and messages with a lot of them out there. So.
Right. Yeah. And catching these kids early on and teaching them how to think, how to speak to themselves, how to ground themselves to the earth, how to become balanced and centered within themselves, how to cope with their emotions, how to act and communicate with other people. We have the whole generation of people that are just on their cell phones. And, that's great. It's wonderful. I love my phone. I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Right.
And yet I grew up in a time when we didn't have that. We spoke face to face. And what's being left out is a lot of communication that you hear in tone of voice, that you see in the body, you see it in their face. So you can say something and mean something completely different. If you look into somebody's eyes, you can say, oh, wow, they're saying this, but their body language is saying that.
They're like,
and that's a skill. That's a real skill.
Yeah.
And unless you practice it by actually communicating face to face with people, you don't know that. You don't realize that. You think everything's just text.
As written.
Yeah. And it's not. There's a multitude of implications and ideas
Nuances.
and emotions behind those words. And so until you see a person's face, watch their body language, listen to their tones of voice, you may not have a clue that all of that is there until you communicate face to face.
I think that's a little bit of a part of the anxiety with technology these days, is that you don't know the exact tone somebody has whenever it's in a text message.
Right.
Because a lot of my text messages, I always end with like a LOL so that they know that I'm not like mad or in a serious tone or anything like that.
Exactly. Because you might say something sarcastically and then they may not understand that it was a joke.
Yeah,
or
there's that real good like little short video that shows like how like this girl's reading like things that her boyfriend is texting to her, and she's like, whatever, and she's like just like throwing it out of it, and he's just sitting on the couch like, oh, whatever you want to do and all this, but she's making it sound like he's like,
she has a certain tone inside her head of what that she thought it was to her.
Because we interpret things from our own perspective. We have our own lens of perception that we use to interpret what other people are saying to us.
And how we were programmed.
Yes, yes. And everybody has their own program.
Yes, man. Based on what other people were programmed to be. Because that's a big thing that you brought up. Because it's not only words that kids absorb and listen to. It's what they see.
Yeah, they can sense it. They can sense that energy. That's crazy.
They can see the actions that we put upon each other and how we treat each other. Because if all they see is you on your phone, not interacting with the outside world, and it's like, oh, that's how to get this, and that's how like their brain mushes into this shape of how society works.
Right.
And
the message when they see parents or teachers or whoever they're around on their phone, it gives a message of you're not important. My phone is more important than you are. And I know Head Start, the Turtle School in Acoma, came to me several years ago and said, we've got a problem. The kids are measuring lower and lower and lower in testing in language. And they should be at certain levels at the age of 2 and 3 and 4. And they're not. They're behind. They're years behind. And when the teachers met with parents, the parents were like, yeah, whatever. Whatever. They were on their phone. They were not really paying attention, and they're not really talking to their children. And so when people stop talking to their children, the language development stopped within the children.
Right.
And so then the teachers are trying to work double time to get the kids caught up and ready for kindergarten. And so it's at the very at that basic level of our society, children have been impacted, and our communication skills have been greatly impacted as they've grown.
That it's that because teachers are only with your child like a third of the day, and the rest is parents. If the parents aren't like developing or with their child, then the rest of that development is going to be absorbed through YouTube and all of those very simple videos with those with sometimes even like ridiculous vernacular to where they're spewing nonsense now.
Yeah, and that's one of the qualms that I have about social media is that some of the stuff that be mindful of what you're watching or what you're allowing your kids to watch, because some of those people that I caught my niece that one time, and she's like about 5, and I'm like, what are you watching? It's just like I don't know.
There's some weird there's some weird stuff out there, especially on like the YouTube Kids app or like some like animated videos. It's like very like there's a lot of weird stuff out there. There's like videos out there where it's like counting different colors, but then they involve like feet or something, and I'm very concerned with like don't just bottom line, don't expose your kids to the internet until they're like 12 or something. For real, because keep them off of there. It's not a good place to explore.
There's a lot of garbage on the internet.
There you go.
And a lot of people are making money off of that garbage.
Exactly. That's what irks me the most is that they make these content farms to where like it's easy for these little kids to click on them and be like, haha, I like this, click. Each click, every single time, these people who make these half-assed animations, these very rudimentary things they're making, or like where they do live action things. Like there is I don't know if you guys heard about Elsagate, where there was some weird videos on YouTube where these people were dressed like as Elsa and Spider-Man.
No,
And oh man, it was a thing, but like they were just performing weird acts, and it was all laid out on the YouTube Kids application and being exposed to that level. In YouTube, there's a when you every time you upload a video, there's an option to put yes, this video is made for kids, and no, this video is not made for kids. If you click the option for yes, this video is made for kids, your video will get input into that system. If you click no, then it'll be into the regular YouTube. And I don't know, it's just one of those things that really irks me, that there's some people out there that are not only like making low effort with high profits, but also like making these really weird things for, and then having it being exposed.
And remember, that's going into your child's programming.
Exactly.
Whatever they're seeing on the internet or television, it's going right into that subconscious. So they start repeating the things that they've heard. And so if you think about it, there's a lot of shows or people they can be watching that's actually sending damaging messages to the children.
Yeah.
But there are some like good shows. That Bluey show, I think that one's like a really good one. Like, it really shows the spectrum of the human connection.
What about those Christian vegetables?
The VeggieTales? Yeah, you don't knock VeggieTales. VeggieTales is for rated E for everyone.
I just know that because I seen it in passing one time. And I was like, what the heck is this? And there was like some...
A mobster pear?
I think it was a carrot dressed up as Moses or something. I can't remember what the whole premise of the story was.
I've never really went into VeggieTales or watched a lot of it. The maximum I've ever watched VeggieTales is accumulated about an hour. I've never been exposed to that much.
But I have a lot of like, and they're just a lot of dreams right now, a lot of goals that, we can make these programs out there for our kids that take them out on nature walks and, introduce them into certain things artistic wise, like teaching them how to paint, canvas. And it applies to kind of like just crafting a lot. And, what I've seen from my interaction with a lot of the kids around the area is that they do take a quick interest into these kind of things when they're shown how to do it. They are more than open to wanting to go on these nature hikes and be taught these things about, what this animal is, what that lizard is, what this tree is.
They love it. And they love to learn about the world, and they love to be out walking in nature. They love to do those things. And there's actually an education group, I think it's called I can't think of the name of it right now, but they actually, that's their classroom, is they take the children out into nature. They study the plants, they study the root systems, they study animals, they study everything out in nature, and they're doing quite well. I mean, the kids are learning, and children that were having trouble learning before are able to pick up and learn how, learn
they can
a
absorb
lot
it better.
just in the world, walking around in the world and being in nature. They do things like plant the gardens, and then they learn how to cook the food from it.
Wow.
So it's very, there's a lot of options out there, and we have to look around for those options. But bringing in art, music, real life experiences. Here's another example. I was at Laguna Head Start. The teacher was doing a great lesson on trees. and one of the and this is around Easter time. She asked the kids, well, what grows on trees? And the kids say, Easter eggs. And I said, okay. I said, it's time to take the kids out, or bring a chicken into the classroom. Yeah. Bring a chicken, introduce them to where eggs come from.
Or something.
They were so cute. They really.
I love that answer.
That's exactly where they're at. And if you're not taking advantage of teaching children about real life things, animals, plants, things like that, then they're missing out on the part of the world that they are a part of, and they need to understand.
Along with that, taking the class out into the outside and everything, I saw this short video where this teacher does that, and where the kind of the kid who is always getting in trouble in the classroom, he naturally became like the leader outside, and like was like he shone, he glowed whenever it was like outside of the classroom.
Right, because he had that outgoing personality,
Yeah.
that kind of like take initiative type of.
Yeah.
His
His
that's usually how it is, the hyperactive kids within the classroom that are always getting into trouble are usually the natural leaders, and that's not a bad thing.
No, the classroom just wasn't their environment.
Yeah,
Exactly. And, hopefully out there in the public schools, teachers are recognizing that and saying, okay, let's find where this child fits and what we can have them do, because we want to increase their self-esteem. We want them to kind of work through their thinking a little bit more. We want them to be able to take their innate abilities that they're born with, or they seem to be born with, and utilize them out in the world. And so
That makes society better.
when I work with
encourage
adults,
them to express themselves and shine in what it is that they take an interest in.
when I work with adults, it's a matter of like, what do you feel like you were born to do?
Yeah.
Like what do you feel is your purpose on the earth? Why are you here? What are your talents? What are your gifts? And let's focus on that. Don't try to get an engineering degree when you're excellent in linguistics or languages. Look at what your innate talents are. I'm not saying don't try out other things. Don't.
Right.
I mean, expand. Expand your consciousness, and education is part of that. Looking into fields of study that maybe you haven't considered, but you find out about it, and you're like, wow, maybe I have a talent for this.
I can't waltz, but I can serve salsa.
Yeah. So you sort of start looking at why am I here, and what are my gifts, and what are my interests? And part of our educational system is they try to streamline kids.
Yes.
Like, oh, you're going to go this way, you're going to go that way, you're going to go this is where you test high.
Yes.
But you don't necessarily want to go into a field where you tested high. You may be interested in something else.
Yeah.
And this is why college has always been the place to explore. But because of the financial aid system, it's made it so it's harder and harder for students to explore. They're given a degree plan or a checklist and said, stick to it. The faster you get through this, the easier it's going to be for you. And then you might end up in a career you're not really interested in. So I tell everyone to have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, and be ready and willing to explore.
It's always interchangeable, and that's one of the great things too, is that the way I found out about college was through my probation officer. I used to have a probation officer when I was still getting in trouble, and she was the one that was like, well, have you ever thought about getting back into school? And I was like, no, I don't got the money for college, and I was just like kind of like annoyed by the thought. She's like, well, they got the FAFSA program, and I was like, I don't even know what that is, because I always thought you had to have like soaring grades and get scholarships in order to get into college. But she showed me what the FAFSA program was all about. She explained it to me that you go onto the website, you apply for it, you're more than likely going to get it, and the only requirement is that you maintain that 2.5 GPA in order to continue towards working towards your associate's degree. And as long as you can do that, the government's going to pay for your entire college program. And, it necessarily doesn't even have to entail you seeking a degree. You can get yourself a certificate here at the NMSU Grants branch for welding, automotive, electrician. So that's one of the things. But that's my little plug for NMSU Grants. And it's a great school here.
We can help you.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a story about like that too. I'm enrolled in everything, and my pastor. And I work for him with AV over at his church.
What's AV? Or is that the
audio video?
Oh, okay.
I work the live sound and everything with on stage and like microphones and whatever. But Gabe actually put me on to college finally, to where like he helped me out with every step of the progress, and the staff here helped me out also with getting everything that I needed to help me get me into this. All of these classes and everything, and it's plausible. It's possible.
And you definitely have your work cut out for you here, because I can tell that you know your stuff when we come in here and you set it all up for us to use and all that. So
If you're a first generation college student, that means you're the first in your family to go to college. You often don't understand the system or how it works.
Yep.
But the way we work here at the university is basically everybody is here to help you, from student services to financial aid to the business offices to the
an empty
advisors,
stomach, man.
to the faculty, to the tutoring center where they offer food every day for anybody who needs it, to the Aggie House where you can go and pick up food or items that you need for free.
We're all here to help you succeed, and that's one of the big things that I like about this campus is that it's such a small campus that you have that ability to interact one-on-one with your instructors, and they'll more than be willing to help you, sit down with you, discuss what it is that you're having an issue with or whatever.
They love to.
Yeah.
They love to sit and talk with you about what are
do
your interests.
podcasts with you.
Yeah, we'll podcast with you. We'll do anything. We love to talk about that stuff because we've been where you are. I went to community college. I loved it. I had the most fantastic instructors. When I went on to the big 4-year university, I was like, wow, there's classrooms full of 200 people. Nobody knew me.
Yep.
Nobody knew me. I didn't get that individualized attention, but I love community college because I did. And that's why I'm here. I love working with my students.
Yeah. And for me, the biggest thing that I was intimidated by when I first got back into my pursuing my higher education was the mathematics and the writing. I always thought that I wouldn't be able to pass my mathematics class. And I always thought that, all this composition and things that.
Right.
But the tutors up here in the Success Center, like I said, they're here every single day. And so am I, because I know that if I put forth that effort to come here, get that help, ask for that help, don't be embarrassed or ashamed that you need that help. You're going to get to where you need to go. And that's, that's how far I've come along in this.
Yeah. You can't get through college without help, without asking for help. And that's the first obstacle is you have to just say, I'm going to ask for help and I'm going to get it.
Yep.
And you do. You get the help you need.
You're not going to be ridiculed as much in
and
a community college.
And I got to give a big shout out to my student advisor as well, because she's kind of like, she don't want to hear it, but because we come from the same communities, we come from that Native American background where it's kind of just like, just do what you got to do and don't be complaining. Sometimes I need that talking to. Yeah. So
for real though, like I think that's a big thing a lot of people struggle with is that, like, deal with it yourself, man.
Yeah.
That was just the bottom line for, like, a lot of, like, things. But now, like, I think as a collective with everybody around the world, we're starting to let us be vulnerable and let ourselves ask for help and and acknowledging more of the inner workings.
We honor authenticity.
Yeah.
There you go.
Honor authenticity. We want people to be who they are. And if you don't know something, if you don't know how to do something, there's always people around that will help you.
Yep.
There's people that live to do that. They want to help and they're born to do it. So take advantage, go to those people and say, hey, can I get some help? And just know that you have to work. It's not like, oh, they're not going to do it for you.
No.
You really have to learn it and do the work yourself because eventually you're going to have to fly on your own and be able to do those things.
You can know how to fly on book, but you got to actually be able to execute the thing.
And for me, it took me reaching that level of maturity to be able to understand that, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be ashamed. And that's why I always stress that we need to teach the younger generation how to be able to do these things, so that way they don't take so long like how I did. But and that's basically where I'm sitting at today is that
it's not pride, it's programming.
Oh, definitely.
And you know what? That's probably true. That's probably true about the programming. So can we just jump back there to programming a little bit?
Yeah.
So when we're talking about programming and we're talking about self-talk, saying positive things to ourselves. And when we say the negative, taking it back, reversing it, saying the positive instead.
Yes.
We need to understand on some level that our words are powerful. The energy of our words is powerful.
Yes.
Our thoughts are powerful. So what we speak and what we think and what we do all lines up. We have to be in alignment with those things. If one of those things is out of alignment, say you have a thought or a belief about something, but you don't do it, you do the opposite,
Right.
you're what we call incongruent. That's like where you're not in truth or alignment with yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's important to be aware of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're saying, and how you're acting. And when we talk about these going to these family gatherings or these holiday
yeah.
events, I wanted to just give a few more suggestions in terms of basically remember that you're important.
Yes.
Right.
And that your abilities, your imagination is also very, very important in this process. Because when you can imagine yourself grounded, balanced, healthy, whole, unbroken,
Right.
you're healed.
Yep.
Okay, you might see yourself as having to have walked the path that you didn't really want to walk, but you're forced upon a path. But honestly, you can begin to heal yourself in that mindful moment, in that mindful minute, seeing yourself as healthy, seeing yourself making healthy choices, affirming that to yourself and to your spirit, your higher power, whoever that might be. So when I'm talking about saying positive affirmations, and I would recommend maybe you start the day with a positive affirmation, getting out of bed saying, thank you for this day. It's a wonderful day. I'm going to excel today, or whatever it is. Feeding yourself those lines, feeding yourself that positive. So when you're going to go out to a place that makes you nervous, or if you're afraid that you might get triggered and slip, say something like, the universe has my back and helps me stay sober.
Yes.
I am in my integrity and my power.
Yes.
Or I stand in power and truth. Every day in every way, I make healthy choices. So find something that matters to you and repeat it to yourself. Now, what I'd like to also suggest, because we need to ground ourselves, because a lot of times these affirmations are in our head. We're like, we're repeating them in our head. We need to bring them into our body. So when you say a positive affirmation, drink a little bit of water. We need more water.
Yes.
Take it into the body. See it nourishing you. See it healing you.
Drink those words.
Right. The other thing I would recommend, and I'm a huge rock hunter. I love rocks.
Okay. Yeah.
Everywhere I go, my sister thinks I'm crazy because I think the rocks are. To me, the rocks are going,
You can hear them.
I can hear them. And every time I walk into her house, she laughs because I say, because it seems like the river rocks are speaking. But find a rock that you can put in your pocket. Find something. It can be a beautiful piece of a crystal or rose quartz or any kind of stone that you're drawn to. It can be polished or it can be rough. You can find it down in the riverbed.
A
somewhere.
lava rock.
It can be a lava rock. Take a rock that means something to you. Program it with your words.
Yes.
I am in my truth and integrity. I make healthy choices for myself. Hold the rock. Put it in your pocket when you go to the meeting, you go to a party, you go to the family gathering. And when you start to feel nervous, hold on to your rock and repeat that to yourself in your mind. I'm in my truth and integrity. I make healthy choices for myself. I'm healed.
You're stating what
You
is.
state it as it is. Even if you don't feel like it, say it as you want it to be. I am healed. I am healthy. I make healthy choices. Tell yourself this. Self-talk yourself through every party. And the thing is you start to meet that person that always wanted you to have a drink or wants to offer you something, you know, you do it then. You repeat it in your mind's eye and say, thank you, but I'm making healthy choices now. I'm making healthier choices. And you let every person in your family know that. I'm making healthy choices.
And if they take offense to that, that's on them.
It is.
For real.
It is. And so the other part of that is, you know, attending a stressful family gathering when you're already under the stress of taking care of yourself can be difficult. Bring a friend with you. Bring somebody that's sober with you. Have them watch your back. Have them run interference if somebody's, you know, telling something about you, what you did when you were drunk last year, or when you were high that one time and this happened or that happened, because those stories will get repeated again and again.
That friend that doesn't knock you down, but
have that person run interference for you,
right,
or you can too. You can say,
throw out the flag.
You know what? That's not me. I'm healed. I'm healed now.
A real friend.
I'm working on my healing.
Yeah, your real friends will respect you on your journey.
A friend.
That's right.
Who's your friend when you're sober?
That's right.
Those are the
Families,
realists.
Friends, you know, I have friends that unfortunately are still lost in their own struggles, but they respect me enough to give me those words of encouragement. You know, they've never once said, "Oh, well, you should come back and just like drink one more beer with me." They're just like, "Keep going, bro, man. You're doing so good. It's good to see you doing what you're doing. Keep it up," you know. And that's those positive words, you know, they're just
golden.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely, man.
Yeah, and I mean, hold your rock and say, I'm rock solid in my healthy choices.
There you go.
I'm rock solid in my healthy choices. And repeat it as often as you need to repeat it, whether it's inside your head or whether you're saying it to somebody else. Yes. But be there for yourself. Love yourself enough to stand in your power and speak that truth to whoever wants to hear it, whoever needs to hear it.
Yep. And I think another part is just to prepare yourself mentally as well, to be able to give your family members that leeway to mentally prepare yourself and tell yourself, you know, this is what I'm going to be or tell yourself, let yourself know what to expect when you enter into those situations. You know, we have those family members that, you know, might rub us the wrong way or we bump heads with, like I said earlier, but
don't expect it not to happen.
Yeah, there you go, and just be ready for it. But
bring a bottle of sparkling cider and
anytime it's like, whoo, burr. In with the good, out with the bad.
That's right. That's right.
And like sometimes you need to bring a friend who is able to filter outs along with that.
That's right.
Be your social filter where like. They're a positive light in a field of darkness.
Right. Because remember, that addiction is part of your programming.
Yes.
It's still there. It may be something you cannot resist. And so making sure that you have reinforcement, you have that positive person with you, you have that sober person, you have your own transportation. You may need to bring your own food and drink if that's the case. You do it. You do whatever you need to do, but you stay rock solid in your choices, in your healthy choices.
Mm-hmm. If you're being socially obligated to join this party in the first place, first of all.
Right. And you might not be. You might have to really look at that and say, oh, these people that are going to be there, they're going to trigger me. And am I prepared for that?
Actually, now, like a lot of people online are not having Thanksgiving, they're having Friendsgiving.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard of that.
Yeah, where they don't go to their family gatherings because they know they're not going to be in sync with whatever it is their family is doing, whether it be politics or religion or whatever is rubbing weird whenever they go to those gatherings. It's they go to and like they have friends who have the same kind of like circle of that. Where it's only friends coming together for Thanksgiving.
But the only drawback to that is if you want your grandma's chili stew or your mom's famous, whatever plate she's known for making, you're gonna have to just suck it up and go to those family.
Exactly. That's the only thing though. Like, oh man, for real.
But you can always make that choice. You know?
But that's a viable option though.
Oh yeah.
Friendsgivings, you know, so.
Yeah, but it's a good one.
Yes,
it's a good one.
especially if you know that it's going to put your sobriety in jeopardy, and because I know that, and that's another thing, is that this is that time of the year that we got to be mindful of checking up on our family and friends too.
Oh yeah.
It's a lonely time of the year sometimes
Yeah.
for certain people out there, so just reach out to your friends,
And-
reach out to your family, make sure they're doing okay, and
That's right.
These
That's right.
Lonely people won't reach out.
yeah,
That's true. That's true.
Definitely true.
Reach out to lonely people.
So reach out. Reach out.
I mean, like, sometimes too, like, sometimes the person who you think is always surrounded is probably just the loneliest whenever they're, like, not around people, or, like, they can't, like, grasp being by themselves.
And some of us have that real good ability of putting up this facade to others that we're okay, and
Exactly.
we won't let our pride put it out there that, we're not well, but,
Yeah, even if it looks like someone's handling pretty well, check on them.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
Other than that, I think we've done a pretty good hour so far.
did we cover
Yeah.
what we want to cover?
I think so.
Yeah.
There's always so much to cover.
I know, right? I love
And I guarantee you, we're gonna get to the dreams and what they mean, because that's something that I
We
really
keep
want to talk
trying.
about too.
It's gonna be good when we get to it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
good.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
18 episodes later. All right, guys, episode 25. We're finally talking about dreams.
Yep. And to all the fans out there, I appreciate all your support, all your positive feedback about what you're giving, and in terms of what you think about the show so far. I've heard nothing but positive comments from family and friends that say they like what our discussions are all about and everything. And I wanted to remind the people out there that on January 28th, the adult education program here at the Grants branch is going to be starting its next round of people seeking the GED program, seeking their GED or HiSET, which is their high school equivalency. So you can stop here at the Grants branch, go up to room, I want to say 125. I don't even know my own room. I'm a work study here with the adult education program, and that's basically what we're here for, is to help you guys get your GEDs if that's what you're seeking, your high school equivalency. And from there, we've had, I think from the time that I started as a work study, roughly about 3 semesters ago, we've had people go from attaining their GEDs and jumping right into college or seeking a certificate in the automotive program. So
Yeah, one step at a time.
Yeah.
But you can do it. You can do it.
and January 28th, and even before January 28th, come on in, fill out the paperwork. We'll put you on the orientation list and get you set up and signed up, so that way you can jump in there and get your GED.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, and thanks for passing this podcast
Yes.
around to anybody who might be interested.
Continue to like it. Continue to tell your friends about it. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll see you in about a week or 2 weeks maybe.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Yes, happy holidays. Have a good Thanksgiving. Eat a lot. You'll be seeing me when you come back. It's going to be about that big, so.
I hope y'all have plenty of leftover turkey sandwiches.
Yeah.
Good times.
All right, then. This is signing out. I am Tommy Skeet, audio engineer.
I'm James Francis.
And I'm Katie O'Connor.
We'll see y'all later.
All right, guys.